Hello friends, this is Neha Tulshan from Crescent Creation. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm here to share a very fun beach scene created using all MFT products and some pattern papers from Lawn Fawn. So let's start with this cute girl who is in her beach outfit. I wanted her outfit to be in some kind of pattern, so I chose this perfectly plaid fall paper pack from Lawn Fawn, and with the technique called paper piecing, I'm gonna create this whole image. To get a nice crisp image, I'm using my Misty and I'm stamping the image onto a white cardstock. And then I'm stamping the same image onto the pattern papers. And you don't really have to stamp the complete image onto the pattern paper. Just the part where you want the pattern to be will be enough. Now carefully cut out those parts of the image where you want the pattern to be. Like here, I want the dress of this girl along with her hat to have the pattern. So I'm trimming out that portions. I also wanted her swim tube to have some aqua color pattern. So I'm using this pattern paper to cut out my swim tube. Now for the rest of the image that I'm not going to use the pattern paper, I'm going to color it using Copic markers. And in this particular image, it's just the body of the girl which is left to color along with her beach toys, which I actually forget coloring right now, and I'll later color it off camera. And because I knew that I'm going to use Copic colors to color this image, I used Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp these images. I'm using E01, E11, E13 and E17 Copic markers to color my image. I usually do not go for that dark color skin tone, but I wanted to have this girl a little tan look because she's at the beach. So I used E17 to add that extra shadow or darker tone to my image. I was so excited to stick the pattern papers to this image and see the overlook, the complete look, that I forget to color her stomach and the beach toys, and I later color them off camera. I used a black marker to go all over the edges of the pattern paper pieces that I cut to give them a complete and clean look. It really makes a lot of difference when you fuzzy cut a image and go over the edges of that image with a black marker. Now I'm using liquid glue to stick those pieces, the pattern paper pieces, onto the image. You can use any kind of glue. For me, liquid glue worked better here because it gave me some time to play with the piece and move it here and there if it is not perfectly placed onto the image. Once finished, you can fuzzy cut the image and you're all done. I so love this technique. I know it's a little bit of extra work to do, like stamping on different pattern papers and fuzzy cutting them, but the result is just very, very beautiful. So you might want to give it a try and enjoy the whole process. And yes, don't forget to go over the edges with the black marker. Now to create the background of my scene, I used MFT watercolor Wash Brights 6x6 paper pack, and I used yellow color pattern paper to die cut land out of MFT Beach Scene Builder Dynamics. I also die cut other elements from the same dynamics set using white cardstock. Now I'm inking up the die cuts using distress inks. I used peel paint distress ink to ink up the leaves of the tree and walnut stain distress ink to ink up the trunk of the tree. And because the 3 coconuts were too small, I used YG97 Copic marker to color those coconuts. And I felt that the pattern paper was a little dull for the water. I used salty ocean distress ink to ink it up. I also used radiating rays stencil from MFT to create some sun rays on the top right corner of my background. The ink pad I used here is called Ducklin from Simon Says Stamp. After inking up all the pieces, I put them all together and used my distress sprayer to spray some flecks of water, and then I let the water sit for 10-20 seconds and blot it dry using some paper towel. While these pieces were drying, I wanted to add some texture to the piece of land that I die cut from the yellow pattern paper earlier. So I used my Copic marker in YG93 and added some dot detail towards the lower portion of the die cut to make it look like sand granules. Now that my background elements were all done, I started to assemble them to see if I needed anything more to add to my scene. I used my tape runner adhesive to stick the land onto the background. For my tiny pieces like the tree trunk and the leaves, I used my liquid glue. I did not add glue all the way to the top of the leaves as I wanted the leaves to stick out a little bit from the top. And then I stick those 3 coconuts together as if it's a cluster of coconuts hanging together. I used a lot of foam tape to stick my girl near the tree, and this is where I realized that I need few more images to add to my scene. So I stamped 2 seagulls from Seaside Seagull stamp set from MFT and also a small turtle from Mermazing stamp set from MFT. I used Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp these images as I'm using Copic colors to color the images. I used C2, C3, C5, Y02 and Y18 to color my seagulls. For the turtle here, I used YG93, YG97 and YG99 Copic markers. Now to assemble the scene, I used some foam tape to stick the turtle onto the land. And for my seagulls, I didn't want to stick them just like that in the middle. It would have looked as if they're flying or swimming. You wouldn't really know. So I used my craft knife and cut some openings in the shape of waves and tucked them into the openings. The sentiment I used Hey Sunshine from Pure Innocence Beach Day stamp set and stamped it using VersaFine black onyx ink. To finish off this card, I stick this panel to a white side folding A2 size note card. So this was my card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, do like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for visiting. Have a nice day.